What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Cass here from the Bi-Week Podcast, and we are here with Valente, also from the Bi-Week Podcast, and we missed you guys. It's been a little bit. We've
Yeah,
recorded the last 2 weeks episodes with David all in one sitting, so we have not seen you guys in about a week and a half. So it's good to be back. NFL season's almost back. UFC pay-per-view just came to a conclusion last night,
yeah, Saturday. Shit.
Saturday. Clash at the Castle is on the horizon, and we have a lot to talk about. So we can either dive into Clash at the Castle first, which we have typically done with the podcast. Go straight into the wrestling content, or we can go into the UFC content if you want to. That'll give me time to be able to pull up the Clash at the Castle card.
You know what? I kind of want to start with the Clash of the Castle stuff because I already have it up.
Okay. Well, here, if you don't mind, I'm going to write down my trusty handy dandy notebook. Our predictions for Clash of the Castle so we can come back to them. So, what does the card look like, Senor Valente?
Okay, so obviously we got the United or the Universal Championship match between Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre. We got Liv Morgan versus Shayna Baszler for the SmackDown Women's Championship. We got a six-woman tag between Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, and Asuka facing Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky.
Okay.
We got Riddle and Seth freaking Rollins. And
Okay.
then we got Gunta with Ludwig Kaiser versus Sheamus with Butch and Rich Holland for the Intercontinental Championship.
Okay.
And honestly,
Five.
that's
So
all that's
five
available
matches.
right now. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you really want to do predictions yet because it's a bit early. Oh no, it's actually not. The event's this Sunday, isn't it?
No, no, it's the Saturday after this.
Okay, so we can not do predictions and wait to do that next week if you want to, and we can just talk about the
Yeah,
matches.
well, yeah, let's do that.
First of all, I'm happy, very happy, because I'm typically the wrestling expert for the bi-week podcast. I'm very happy that we're gonna get Walter versus Sheamus. It's been a dream match that I've wanted to see for a minute, and I am happy that being that we're finally gonna get that. Also, we're finally getting the rise of Shayna Baszler, which is something I think that's very much needed for a women's division that doesn't have a lot of star power right now. That's very much dependent on Ronda Rousey in SmackDown's case of the SmackDown Women's Division, because you've got a lot of people that aren't typically bigger names. So trying to build up people like Liv Morgan, Shayna Baszler, especially while Charlotte's on hiatus, it's very much important for SmackDown to try to build up new women's talent, which they have not done well over the past couple of years of doing. Um, and WWE as a whole needs to build up more talent, which is especially in the women's division, which is why I think the six-woman tag needs its spot on this Clash of the Castle card, especially to get over Io Sky, Dakota Kai, and Bayley, because you have two new people in Io Sky and Dakota Kai who need to be able to get over. And then again, you also have Bayley, who since her return at SummerSlam has not wrestled in a match on live television. So having her debut back, being at a massive stadium show in Cardiff, Wales, would be massive for not only her character, massive for the Bayley fans that have supported her for years, and many people truly believe that she's the best from that four horsewomen as far as a worker goes. Many people truly believe that. So having her be able to come out and be able to work people like Bianca Belair, which we haven't really seen. People like Asuka, who we've seen very limitedly. Asuka and Bayley had that really good championship match that was Bayley's send off in NXT. Then we have um, Alexa Bliss, who they've had some rumblings back and forth. They're probably the two that have had the most experience with each other. But having Bayley be able to have her return match in Cardiff, I think, is a big step. And I'm finally ready to get Riddle and Rollins over with because Rollins needs to be put in some kind of major line, and having him just middle with Riddle. I know that rhymed, but having him just mess around with
Yeah,
Riddle
Riddle.
isn't really where he needs to be on the card, and it's really not even where Riddle needs to be on the card. Both of these guys need to be in championship storylines because they're both championship caliber competitors. So,
For sure.
and especially with Rollins, because I think when it comes to guys that are on the roster right now, believably, the way they've built up Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins is the only guy that can legit beat him because he's the only guy that's been able to really get inside the head of Roman Reigns. Go back to Royal
For sure.
Rumble.
They should have beat
Go
him at the Rumble. Yeah.
go back to Royal Rumble 2021.
No, that was this
During
year.
was it 2022?
Yep.
I'll go back to Royal Rumble 2022, and you have during Roman's entire reign one match where he was not the victor by pin or submission. That is the only match during his entire reign, championship on the line or not, where he has not been pinned. Where, all right, hold up, I'm gonna restart. It's the only match for the championship since he's been champion that has not resulted in him being the victor by winning or submission. He ended up getting disqualified because Rollins got so much in his head.
Yeah.
And they never capitalized on that. And I feel like they need to because Rollins is the guy that's believably able to take the title from Roman. They're not going to do that though. They want two
Yeah, they
titles.
won't.
They want two titles. They need to find a way to get a championship on SmackDown on Raw because the USA wants a championship on Raw. That's the reports we're all hearing. Is the USA Network wants a championship on their show, which makes sense. They're paying a ass load to WWE to be able to air on exclusively on USA. So it would make sense that USA would want a main championship on their show, which is why I think you've seen so much of the US title being promoted so much because they're trying to make Raw seem more important without a main world championship, which I think is hard to do. And I think the perfect guy, because a lot of people have been talking about Karrion Kross being the guy that brings it over to Raw. I don't think that makes sense because since he's debuted, he's been exclusive to SmackDown. What has he had? One promo on Raw, and that was because McIntyre was on Raw. I don't think that makes sense. I think you have to have a Raw guy who's been a Raw guy, been on Raw every week, be the
Agreed.
guy that takes the title, which is I think either Seth Rollins or Austin Theory makes the
Yep.
most sense. You need a
For
guy.
sure.
You need a guy, and you can even do the Money in the Bank cash in. Believably, you could have the contract in the case say that it's only for one championship. That way, Roman keeps his. One of his goes to SmackDown, does his thing on SmackDown. Eventually, I think they're kind of leading to a Karrion Kross Roman Reigns match. I don't know if Karrion's going to win that, but that's where they're leading. I very much feel that, especially with the dropping the hourglass in front of Roman and saying TikTok, all that shit. But you could very much capitalize off Theory being the world champion. And my thing is, if Theory becomes world champion, dude's gonna need to sit on it for a little while. I know we've had a really long championship reign with Roman Reigns. I think you could really build the next superstar with one championship reign with Austin Theory. Think about Seth Rollins' first championship reign after he cashed in at Money in the Bank at WrestleMania. You could really slowly build the biggest heel in the entire industry, not just WWE, with one championship reign. If we think about how much was able to be done with the Summer of Punk, starting off winning the world championship as a face, going all the way through as world champion, slowly turning heel. He has the match with Rock at the Rumble, loses, drops it, has the rematch at Elimination Chamber, then faces Taker at Mania. When you look at all of that, there was so much that was done for his character development during that time frame. And people still look back on the Summer of Punk, that 2012-2013 time frame, and think of it as really one of the key parts of WWE's recent history. And I think that has a lot more than due to just CM Punk. I don't think CM Punk deserves all the credit for the Summer of Punk. I know that's what it's called, but there was a lot of guys doing a lot of really good work at the time. One of my favorite of all time was in probably the storyline of both of their careers with Orton and Christian. So there's a lot of other stuff that was going on good at the time, but it is very much looked upon that 2012 to 2013 time frame as one of the better recent periods of WWE. So overall, Clash at the Castle is looking very promising. I think it has the chance to be a very good event. I think the U.S. Championship needs to be on the card. I hope that it's going to be a triple threat match. That's what I hope. I hope you do Ciampa, Styles, Lashley. Because you've had Styles get a one-on-one championship match with a loss. You've had Ciampa get a one-on-one championship match with a loss. Have a triple threat. Have that be the championship of Clash of the Castle. Have Bobby retain. Then he goes on to do something else. Because you need to finish up the storyline with AJ and Ciampa anyway. Miz just got carried off on live television, so he doesn't have Miz in his corner anymore. That's kind of how I'm thinking they're going to get Ciampa by himself, is having Loomis basically kidnapped Cuz. But that needs to be on the card. The Usos are not going to be able to defend the titles on the card because they weren't even able to get into Canada. So more or less, they're not going to be able to get into Wales. So there's not going to be a tag team championship match on the card because thank Jimmy Uso for that. So
He's my DUI.
yeah, so he's not able to.
DUI Oos.
So no tag team title match, which I thought would have been perfect if you did a Brawling Brutes versus Usos tag title match. Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland, or Butch and Ridge Holland. I thought that would have been. I thought that would have been really good for the card. But either way, Clash the Castle is looking really good. Overall, I'm happy about it. We just got to see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm liking it too. I mean, I think the Roman Reigns storyline's getting pretty stale. I mean, him being champion at least because you got to think about it. Roman Reigns is basically, a part timer now, and he is everything that he got that he bitched at Brock Lesnar and John Cena for being. You know, it kind of sucks that once he gets his shot at glory, he can't handle it, and he can only do it some of the time instead of all the time. And I feel like now they need to like move the championship over to Raw on a younger guy like Theory. I'm really high on Theory, and like you said, um,
Just,
putting a title on a young star by building a young star by putting a title on him. They've already built Theory to be like one of the best young stars, and then just
agreed.
putting a title on him is just like icing on the cake, you know.
And you've really got to think WWE's really had their way with some really good young talent. Like it's crazy to think about, and a lot of people don't even understand this. Braun's like in his early 20s, and
Braun
he's really
Breaker.
yes, he's in his early 20s, like really early 20s, and he has the opportunity to be possibly the biggest star WWE's ever had if they do him right. I believe that they have the like I'm talking bigger than like he has the image to be one of the biggest names WWE's ever had if he's done right. That's just it's just all about because he has the look, he has the legit background from his family. It's all of that. It's all the things The Rock had, Braun has, but he's a better in-ring worker than The Rock was at this point. And I know that might be crazy to say. You gotta look back at some of the matches Rock was having when he first started. They weren't great. weren't great at all. He didn't start having really good matches to his final 3 years in WWE. And if you look at his entire run, his whole run wasn't 7 years anyway. And I think people really don't understand that. But Rock's whole run in WWE was 7 years. He had a year run later on with Cena, but his whole main run in the 90s was 7 years, from 93 to 2000. Oh, no, 95 to 2002. Because his final massive match was against Brock when he dropped the title to him at SummerSlam in 2002. So, which, just a kid little fun fact, when Brock does the pose with the Undisputed Championship, they actually had to make a new belt because he built the belt. Dude's such a gorilla, he built the belt. Anyway, yeah.
I'm
So
liking that.
so
I'm liking
WWE
all
has
that.
some real young talent. A guy I think could be massive as far as like merchandise wise. A Kid, Ataxium, I think there is what they're calling him on NXT. He could be massive. He could because
I forget. What do they call him now?
what was his old name?
Uh, yeah, his old name is A Kid.
Oh, Ataxium. Yeah, yeah. His old name is
A Kid.
his new name's Ataxium or Axiom or something.
Axiom.
Yeah, Axiom.
Axiom.
The reason I think he could be such a good talent merchandise wise is because children love the masked guys. Like, think about how many people grew up loving Rey Mysterio. Sin Cara even got a lot of love from like the younger audiences. Kalisto, and WWE really hasn't been able to capitalize on that. And I know, I know it's kind of interesting. I haven't really seen a non-luchador be masked in WWE in a while. I know A Kid's from Spain, but Spain and Mexico are two different cultures wrestling wise. So I think it's very interesting being able to see a non-lucha libre guy who does have that more high-paced style, but also has a strong striking style. Isn't your typical masked lucha libre? Is much more striking based, and I think it's very much going to fit into a new generation. Especially, and he's also in his young 20s too. Another guy, just to throw out there, JD McDonough, Jordan Devlin, he's 25, was trained by Finn Balor, is a guy that I think, because Finn has showed interest that he wants to be in a backstage role whenever he decides he doesn't want to wrestle anymore. I think when that happens, Devlin could be a guy that Balor very much pushes for to be a main guy. And I think seeing what he was able to do in NXT with Breaker, which I know you haven't been able to see it because you really don't watch 2.0 like that. But like with JD signing their championship contract with his own blood, cutting his hand, signing it with his own blood, having
Yeah.
having JD eat the spears from Braun, getting up with the blood pouring out of his mouth and telling Braun to hit him again, getting up, blood pouring out of his mouth, telling Braun to hit him again. Braun hit him with a good 4 or 5 spears with blood coming out of JD's mouth. And it was so sick. It was so awesome. That's how you build up a top key character, and that's why I think Shawn Michaels really knows what he's doing with NXT 2.0. He really does, because that's how you build up a guy, a anti-hero that people are gonna love, and that's why really recently JD McDonough is one of the top selling merchandise sellers in all of WWE because people have been buying the hell out of his merchandise because people love the way that in his very first match on NXT he took the guy who ran the entire show basically for a year, and almost on his very first appearance put that dude through a table. And on his very second appearance, cuts his hand with the pen and signs his contract with his own blood. Well, have you ever? I've never seen anybody do. I've seen people do the thumbprint with the blood. No, dude spelled out his. But I'm gonna get on a massive train wreck. I love me some JD McDonough. I liked him in NXT UK with Jordan Devlin. I think he's a very underrated worker. Isn't a guy that you would typically see as that world champion guy. I don't even think he could be that on the main roster, but he could very much be a guy that could be a key to a mid card division, especially with the JD McDonough character, because that dude is a badass and people love him. But let's get into the UFC.
Yeah, before we do that, I was gonna say like Shawn Michaels, Triple H controlling the main roster. I don't think he's had a bad show yet. He's had it like about a month to fuck up, and he hasn't. So that's just amazing. Anyway, on to UFC, man. UFC 278 was pretty fire. It was what I would say is definitely like one of the most unexpected, like the most unexpected kind of card that I thought was up there. So I think this main event I'm gonna get to that last because
I hate
you probably have.
before you get too deep in, before you get way too deep in. I got some breaking news that was just posted legit like 5 minutes ago from WWE.
Okay.
Okay, and being we were just into it, I'm gonna post. Due to injury suffered to Gigi Dolan of Toxic Attraction, they are out of the women's tag team tournament. A second chance fatal four way will occur this Friday on SmackDown, with one of the teams being a mystery squad.
Ooh, yep, we know where that's gonna be.
Sasha and Naomi.
Yep,
But
that's gonna
we'll
happen.
we'll get into that next week. We'll talk more about that next week and see if it happens this
Okay.
Friday.
So UFC 278 was probably like one of my more favorite cards of the year so far, and in a weird way. I mean, I didn't necessarily think it was gonna be good from the start. It was one of those things where I just kind of watched it and it was fun. Kind of got me. This motherfucker Tyson Pedro, man, this dude, not even Tyson Pedro. I'm just gonna say, Harry Hunsucker needs. Harry Hunsucker is like the the R Truth. No, not the R Truth. This is who's someone that gets completely dogged on all the time in
Theory.
WWE. No, not Theory, because Theory's actually winning shit. Like
Okay, okay, okay.
Kurt
I
Hawkins. Kurt Hawkins. Okay, Kurt
I
Hawkins.
would say Dolph, but Dolph's actually kind of been doing better recently.
Yeah. Okay, so Harry Hunsucker is like the Kurt Hawkins of the UFC. This man has been thrown to the fucking wolves, and he fucking loses every time. He's got knocked out in the first round in the last three fights that he's been in. They fucking threw him to Tai Boston like his first fight this year, or this first fight, uh, or one of his more recent fights. And man got knocked out in like a minute and a half. No, not even that. 49 seconds. Then you got fucking sent to Justin Taffa, which is a little bit more of like an even fight there, and then he got knocked out in less than 2 minutes. And then Tyson Pedro just recently knocked him out in a minute and five. So I think this dude just needs to see his way out of the UFC because he is not any good. But Tyson Pedro, man, Tyson Pedro has had, see, I think uh, three consecutive first round knockouts. I think two or three, and he's just insane. Then we got I'm gonna skip over this women's match because that I don't know. I felt like she kind of took a fall in that. But you know, don't get mad at me if I demolish this name. Mirab Davlishvili beat
The
Jose
fact you tried
Aldo.
to the fact you tried to say that with an accent makes it even more funnier.
I can't. He defeated Jose Aldo by unanimous decision, and Jose Aldo kind of kept it on the low, but he told Mirab that it's his last fight, and so we probably won't see Jose Aldo again. He kind of had a subtle retirement there, and now it's all over the news. I'm guessing because um, Mirab said something about it. Then we got Paulo Costa and Luke Rockhold, who had a pretty good fight, I guess. And it wasn't no surprise that Paulo Costa was going to win that. Luke Rockhold retired. Man's getting pretty old. And then we got the main event. I know you're probably going to want to say something about this too, but I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. Man, Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman it was something, man. Like Kamaru Usman was dominating the whole fight, and then out of nowhere, 56 seconds left, gets knocked the fuck out, sent to the Shadow Realm, and Leon Edwards is new welterweight champion, bro. Like it's just insane.
Weren't people at the time calling Usman like one of the better fighters in the world?
Yeah, he was the number one pound for pound like guy. So
Oh,
he was the
see,
number one pound for pound guy.
for some reason, before I saw the clip, I thought that dude was Francis Ngannou, but Francis doesn't even fight for the UFC anymore.
Yeah, he does. He just hasn't fought yet. But it's fucking crazy. Like you got 56 seconds left, and you just get completely fucking obliterated by a high kick, man. And it's crazy because it wasn't no just random high kick either. He really planned that out. He feinted the jab, and then Kamaro leaned left straight into the kick, and it seemed like it was all planned out. But to be honest, if it happens again, if the fight happens again, I think Kamaru Usman wins it just because like that mistake, it was a brutal mistake, and in these fights, you're either gonna have a mistake that doesn't really cost you, or you're gonna have a brutal mistake, and that's what it was. And I don't think next time he's gonna let it happen. But other than
All
that,
right.
John Edwards is
Um.
the champion, man.
So I was looking at some stuff for the UFC, and one of these stories caught my eye. I want to get your take on it because we were just talking about this guy a little while ago as one of the better brother duos, and I want to get your opinion on this. What do you think about John making the jump to heavyweight and either taking on Francis or Stipe? Because they're saying that's going to be his first fight as a heavyweight. Is either going to be against Francis or Stipe.
Well, Francis is a murderer, so Stipe, I could see John Jones winning that, but you put him against Francis, and I'm sorry, that's just it's not gonna end well.
I think that's going to be bad for his first fight as a weight jump to have him face
No,
France.
like a weight jump, especially like gaining weight, a weight jump. That's just
Maybe that's the
it's
way of
a thing
maybe
in
that's the way
itself.
of Dana getting all the payback for John Jones costing him all that money with DC. Puts him in the ring with Francis.
But you know, I think John Jones is look in my eyes, he's a junkie. Okay, I was talking about this the other day. He's a junkie in my eyes. If you have to use the PEDs, and I don't even think that he really did good with the PEDs. But fighting Stipe, I think Stipe is 40 now. Like if he fought Stipe, I think he could beat Stipe. But Francis Ngannou, that's just not happening. Just that's just not gonna fucking happen. Like if that happens, Sean Jones might as well go back to the PEDs to even have a chance. That's not gonna happen. Francis Ngannou is not gonna lose anytime soon. Francis Ngannou, you heard Dana White. He has the his punching power is the equivalent of a 2012 Ford Focus hitting you at full speed. Like it's not happening, bro. Stipe, I could see that. I could see you kind of wanted to have a what's the word for it? Kind of like a throwback type fight. Kind of like Nate Diaz is coming back just to finish his deal because he wants out.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that'd be a better fight for a pay per view. But hell no, no Francis Ngannou. That's you're sentencing him to death.
All right, so we've ran through the UFC pay per view. We've got Clash of the Castle done. You want to talk about how the NFL preseasons went so far?
Yeah.
All right, out of everybody, just a little deep dive. Out of everybody that's got drafted, and I know you haven't sat and watched every preseason game. I haven't even done that.
Up on the rookies.
Out of everybody that has played preseason wise, what rookie do you think has performed the best?
I got a few. I got three. Isaiah Likely is one of them.
Okay,
Isaiah
the
Likely's
tight
just
end for the
that guy.
Ravens.
Yeah.
Did he
Uh,
perform well in week 2? I didn't see that.
yeah, he had 100 yards in the first fucking half. Um,
Okay.
I think Desmond Ritter's doing really good as of like right now. He lost, but after halftime, they took him out. He went 10 for 13, 143 yards. I don't know. I'm high on Desmond Ritter, not just because he's from where I live, but Desmond Ritter's just always been like that guy to me since before the draft, since he's in that
I can attest to that.
Cincinnati.
He's been a Desmond Ritter stand. Not really high on him. I'm not high on any of the Cincinnati guys. I don't get the hype behind how a other five program gets more hype. The players out of a group of five program gets more hype than players out of Bama. That doesn't make any sense to me. But
Let's see. And then I'd
and
say, um, as a rookie, maybe, maybe Garrett Wilson. Um,
I've seen Garrett make some really good catches where he didn't even run like really good routes. He just went up and snagged the ball.
yeah, Garrett Wilson. He's a guy. He's a guy.
Um, all right, here we go. One of the guys I think's been a really good standout, and I'm kind of breaking the rules here. He's not a rookie per se, like out of the draft, but this is his first year in the NFL, so he's a rookie. Anyway, Cavante Turbin from the
Oh
USFL
yeah.
has played insane for the Dallas Cowboys.
Jesus.
So he's a guy that I'd put up there. I'm trying not to be because I don't. One thing I don't think our rookies have played well, like to be on the list with some of the guys. But Kyle Phillips has done really, really well to be a fifth round pick, and has really earned himself a roster spot on my team, on like the Titans team, as a guy that's really going to be a threat as far as short, more intermediate routes, and has sneaky speed. And then you got a guy like when me and Valente and our friend Dakota, who you've heard in almost every podcast now, we're gonna have him on, I promise. But we were all watching the games, and like I said, the Titans really haven't had a dangerous kick returner in really team history in Tennessee. They haven't had a guy that's been really good at kick returning. They had a guy that could have done it in CJ2K. He could have done it. Our probably real dangerous one was the guy that returned the Miracle, the Music City Miracle, which was Kevin Dyson. Dyson was a really good kick returner for the Titans, but he has a couple of really good famous kick returns. He has the one in Kansas City that sent us to the playoffs one year. He has that Buffalo one. So
One more guy, Romeo Dobbs. Romeo Dobbs, really good.
George Pickens is another one. We didn't
Yeah,
even
Kenny Pickett too. Kenny Pickett. Yeah, that's another good one as well.
We didn't even talk about George Pickens.
Yeah.
I know if this podcast gets traction, people are gonna, as a Titan fan, are gonna want me to talk about Malik. I'm not gonna do it. I don't think personally, and I've got even an unbiased person here. I don't think he's played that well to be like on the list of like top rookies.
Yeah.
I don't
So
think. I
I'll
think
say it
there's.
before you do. So it just actually, you know what? You can say it because
I
it'll
think.
make more sense coming from you.
I think there's glimpses there. You get glimpses of what people are talking about when they say Malik could be a revolutionary guy and could truly revolutionize the quarterback position. You get glimpses, small little glimpses in play by play. And I'm saying this. There's no quarterback I've seen do this. Not even Lamar did this. There's no quarterback within an immediate jump from the NFL from college to the NFL that breaks as many sacks as Malik Willis. It's incredible what he's able to do in the backfield, but he's not able to find his reads. And I think over time that'll happen more, but he's going to need time to play, which is why I guess some of the people are saying that maybe keeping Ryan that second year, giving Malik another preseason, because you got to think Malik's not going to be able to get significant starting reps this season. It's not going to happen. So most of his reps that he's going to get during the season are going to be practice reps, and people aren't really going in practice like they are in games. But if you get into the preseason, people are really going to the point where some people are trying to fight for jobs, and like I think some of the best play from some guys happen in the preseason because you got guys that are really fighting for jobs out there. And then you got rookies that really want to perform, which is why you have somebody like a Cavante Turpin who comes from another league that
Yeah,
wants to make the.
Cavante Turpin is not just from another league. Man came from three different leagues. He came from the IFL, the Spring League, that he didn't get to play in. The Fan Controlled Football League, where he played for the Glacier Boys. Only reason why I know that is because uh, I love the Fan Controlled Football League. It's a revolutionary type game. And then USFL, where he was the MVP, if I think so. He was the
Um,
MVP of the USFL.
he might have been the offensive MVP. I think that might have been a thing that was the thing, but
Yeah, and then now he just showed flashes of Devin Hester. So
and
it's insane what he's doing in the preseason.
but I think
The
there's
man
definite.
looks
Oh, go ahead.
he probably earned his roster spot just from this week alone.
But yes, there's definitely glimpses there of what you can see from Malik. But he needs to be able to see reads, understand, understand that when guys are open, you got to trust yourself, and that comes with more time in the league, more development. That comes with being able to trust receivers more time you know them, and slowly that'll happen over time. It's about taking time and understanding your guys. Like I've seen him slowly build a repertoire with Hassan Haskins and Chikakonkwo, which I'm really happy with. He's starting to really trust those guys. Like Chick had 4 targets. And I know that's not going to sound like a lot, but for the playing time that Chick got in the preseason, is really good because for some reason the Titans are very high on Chikakonkwo to the point where they don't even need to see any more of him against live competitors, like against live preseason. People are really thinking Chick's going to win this secondary tight end job. So the Titans have really trotted out Jeff Swaim and Tommy Hudson as the tight ends 3 and 4 to see who wins that third job. Because the Titans have always carried 3 tight ends, even back to um, um, Anthony Fasano, uh, Delaney Walker, and Jake Supernaw. Even back to then days when I first started watching the Titans have always carried 3 tight ends as more of a run based style. They always carry one guy that's an elite pass catcher and 2 blockers. That's been the way it's gone. Now this is a revolutionary time for the Titans because there's a chance that the Titans could walk into this season with 3 pass catching guys. Tommy Hudson's not your typical blocking tight end, and Austin Hooper can block, but he's more of a receiving threat. And then you got Chikakonkwo. The amount of packages that the Titans would be able to run with 3 receiving tight end sets is a definite option. But as we typically know with the way the Titans play, they're going to want more of a run the ball down your throat style, which is why I see the fact that Jeff could win this job as much more of a possibility. But talk about your Saints now, because I've rambled on about tight end spots.
All right. Someone that I'm really happy with in the preseason is Andy Dalton. He only played one game, and he's kind of had to step in for like Jameis because if the foot sprain didn't happen, a couple weeks ago, Jameis would have been the one to play the preseason game against Houston in week 1. And Andy Dalton stepped in and he led a drive and this is something that I said in both games. Watching the Saints preseason this year is like watching last year's regular season because I can tell you every person's name that started from the preseason game. Like Marquez Callaway started, fucking Tre'Quan Smith started. Uh, you know what I mean? Like the guys from last year's regular season that literally held us afloat were the guys that played this year. And Andy Dalton had like a really good drive. He only played one drive. He went 5 for 5. And then someone I'm really disappointed with, and Ian Book, man, I hate Ian Book, dude. Ian Book is like so disgustingly terrible. It's really bad. And a stat that I saw during the Packers game, he's only taken 60 snaps under a center. He's only taken 60 snaps under center at Notre Dame. Under a center, not like drop, not like what's it called?
Shotgun.
Yeah, like under center, and he fumbles on plays like that. And the way the Saints play, like a lot of our plays are
Yeah, y'all don't run a lot out of the
self.
shotgun.
Yeah, we don't run a lot of shotgun, so it's it's very hard for Ian Book to succeed in a system that he didn't play in. And Ian Book, despite being a fifth round pick, fourth round pick last year, he's on the chopping block, and it's not even close. But hopefully, we get to see a little bit of Jameis in this last preseason game on Friday. Um,
I'm hoping we get to
I
see
know
a
Michael
drive.
Thomas is dealing with like a little bit of a hamstring injury right now. That's not really being, I guess, put out there as much because it's not that big of a deal. I'm guessing, and hopefully, we get to see a little bit of action from James or Jarvis Landry, Jameis Winston, some of the starters because I haven't been able to see anything from them.
I've kind of,
Jarvis Landry, especially. I really want to see Jarvis Landry.
not meaning to interrupt, but I'm kind of on the same boat as you. I really want to see a drive from Ryan. I doubt we'll see that because of how much Ryan has played for this squad over the past 2 years. But I really want to see a drive from Ryan.
Yeah, I just want to see like a Jameis drive. I want to see a drive with Jarvis in it. I'm not so sure. I want to see Michael Thomas yet. The the viewer in me, the fan in me, wants to see Michael Thomas play in the preseason, even if it's one drive, maybe 1, 2 plays. But the conservative side of me wants him to ice up and be ready for week 1 and try and avoid all possible injuries. Adam Troutman's having a good camp. Trevor Penning, he started off a little shaky. He practiced and fought 3 people 3 days in a row, and now he's kind of turned it around a bit. Had a really good game against the Packers in the preseason. Again, preseason doesn't say much, but if you can hold in your emotions and minimize penalties because you're still playing against people, and these penalties are still very easy to get. And he didn't have a single holding penalty or didn't square off with anybody. And there's a chance that we might see some Trevor Penning to start off the regular season because James Hurst has a foot injury, which hasn't been really disclosed yet. But yeah, and defense, man. Oh my God, Paulson Adebo, dude. Paulson Adebo is probably like my hero right now, and nobody knows this, but I hated on him so much last year. Start the season, he fucking got so many PIs, and he just gave up so many plays. And now this year, man, I ride Paulson Adebo. I ride for Paulson Adebo. And Chris Olave even had a decent game against the Packers. He scored a touchdown. The and he's got a couple of receptions under his belt too. So
I think it's
getting
real.
that experience.
I think it's going to be real interesting to see how some of these players that we're really excited about play.
Yeah, but besides our teams, who's a player that you're really disappointed in? Like that
Okay,
hasn't done what expected. Could be a rookie, could be a regular player. That's not on like our teams.
okay, that's not on our teams. All right, I'm gonna let you go. Why I think, because I'm guessing you have a guy.
Um, well, I did for a second, but one of the guys that I'm kind of disappointed in, I guess you could say, is Deshaun Watson. Uh,
Okay.
for more than one reason. I mean, it's obvious. Him playing in the preseason, he's played 1 game. He played against Jacksonville. They
Mhm.
won the game, but Deshaun Watson was terrible. He did. Let's see. Let me pull this up. He did really bad. He had 5 pass attempts, only completed one. He
Mhm.
had a 39.6. rating, Josh Rosen did better, and that's very hard to do. It's very hard to see Josh Rosen do better.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, and it's bad. It was really bad. Like Deshaun Watson, I know he hasn't played in 600 days, and I know he has his, cases and suspension looming, but yeah, he was bad, and it's preseason, man. You against preseason backups and shit like that, like you can't do that bad. You can't be to what some people say is a top 10 quarterback and do shit like that and go out and play like that.
It's always amazed me because as much as like people say winning doesn't matter for a quarterback, it's always amazed me how people really do think that Deshaun's a top 10 quarterback when he's never really led a team to a significant amount of wins before.
He is. The one season, the 2 seasons that he did play, he made the playoffs in both of them.
I'm talking about like if people if people want to say Deshaun's like top five. Okay, before all this stuff happened, there was legit people saying that Deshaun could be a top was a top quarterback in the league. If that
Yeah,
is
he
if that's
was.
what you're saying, then
I don't know
you
about
need
top five, top seven, not top five.
if that's what people really thought, then the farthest he ever went in the playoffs was he never won a playoff game.
Well, to be fair, the Texans have never been to the conference championship themselves.
At least I don't think he's won a playoff game. I might be wrong about that, but he
Yeah,
might.
he playoff game. He won the game against. Uh, you remember the season that the Chiefs were coming back on everybody?
Yeah.
The 2019 season.
Hmm.
He beat. I want to say it was um, Cleveland.
I don't know. It might have been. It might have been. It might have been. You might be right. You might be right.
Um, Give me a second. Um, Buffalo.
They beat Buffalo. Okay. 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 So he does have a playoff win under his belt. It's just like I just don't think Deshaun has earned the right to be in that conversation of like top five guys, top 10 guys. I don't see that.
Yeah, I don't see how people are still doing that. Like back then, back when he was with the Texans and actually making playoff runs. Um, I think you could put him in that conversation, but definitely not now. I don't see how you can. And you know what? It pisses me off because this is the same thing. People still consider Deshaun Watson a top 10 quarterback. He has not played in 600 days. Michael Thomas is not a top 10 receiver. He played in 2021. He played the playoff game in 2021. How on earth can you go from being the number one receiver to not even in the top 10, but you can go from being the number seven quarterback to still remaining in the top 10?
This isn't me saying this, but I think there's a lot of people out there that would have argued that MT was never the number one guy. I think he was,
I
but
don't. I don't understand how you can argue that.
because if you're looking at it from just a statistic point of view, there's guys that impact the game. Not, and you even gonna say this true. There's guys that impact the game a lot more than Michael
In 2019?
V. Yes,
Who?
people's idea when MT broke the record was the reason he broke the record is because he was getting so many targets, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. How many times during MT's whole career, you followed his whole career, you've been a fan his whole career, how many times have you seen MT really like massively make a massive play when his team needed it?
Well, then you're gonna have me go back looking at games. I really can't do that. But literally all the time.
Okay, I might just have a lack of
One of the
knowledge.
entire reasons. He's one of the entire reasons we won the playoff game against the Bears in 2020.
Y'all won the playoff game against the Bears. Oh no, that's the Eagles. I was gonna say y'all won the playoff game against the Bears because Alshon dropped the pass, but that's the Eagles.
Marshawn Lattimore, really, who really kind of kept us in that game. Defense kept us in that game.
With one against the Eagles.
Yeah, and the 19 playoffs or the 18 playoffs, something like that. 2018 playoffs. But Michael Thomas has 4,000 yard seasons, and even if you're not a numbers guy, is Cooper Cup not the number one guy to y'all now?
I don't.
Because the way I see it, Cooper Cup. I think Cooper Cup had an extra game as well. Still couldn't beat the record.
That still doesn't. I don't. I don't even like that. That people think that he's the number one receiver. I don't. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense.
And people are like, "Oh, well, he had so many targets." Well, he carried the team. Don't break or don't fix what's not broken. You know what I mean?
I guess. Yeah. Makes sense.
And he's not the fastest guy either. He's not super fucking fast, and he's not. He's like slant boy, as some of y'all want to call him, I guess. You know,
I get where the anger would come from.
you can't really like debate that he wasn't that number one guy. It kind of pisses me off. Like there's not another guy in 2019 that you could even remotely say was close to number one. There was a huge margin. When I mean huge. Nothing like this. Maybe Derrick Henry rushing wise, not the year, but not by the year, but Derrick Henry. All right, I'm gonna use Derrick Henry as an example. You remember when Derrick Henry rushed for 2,000 yards?
Mm-hmm.
Who was the closest person behind him?
Like, if I'm not wrong, like 15, 1600. Like,
1557 Dalvin Cook, right?
all right.
Michael Thomas when he led the league in receiving yards. The closest person behind him, 1,394 Julio Jones. Michael Thomas had a whole 400 yards more than him. And if you want to go ahead and take your slant boy comments back to wherever they came from, Michael Thomas without slant routes, for without slant routes, 1,425 yards, still leads the league in receptions, still leads the league in yards by at least a game's worth. So I don't like when people call him slant boy. I don't like when people fucking say he's not good, say he's not top 10. I don't see a fucking world where you think he's not top 10. And I understand Woolley didn't play. Don't call Deshaun Watson a top 10 quarterback then. Because there's still people doing that.
There are, and it doesn't make any sense. Like, it genuinely is a not making sense thing to me.
Yeah, and in 2020 as well, he played 7 games, but like only 10 quarters. Only 10 total quarters. 10 quarters. So that's basically 2.5 games, 2.5 full games. Hit 438 yards. Could you imagine having 438 yards after 2.5 games?
There's no guy
That's
doing
like
stuff.
that's like almost 200 yards a game if you think about it. I'm not gonna think about it like that because that's just not how it looks on the stat line.
There's no guy doing
But
stuff like that nowadays.
exactly. But like, hold on, let's take a look at Cooper Cup. So Michael Thomas had 185 targets, and Cooper Cup. Let's see how many he had. Cooper Cup had 191, and like not so many more. He had 191. He had 6 more targets, 4 less catches, and people say Cooper Cup's the number one guy.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are over here trying to tell me that Michael Thomas wasn't that guy in 2019. He was the most consistent wide receiver in the NFL in 2019. Besides Mike Evans. I mean, Mike Evans had a consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, but aside of Michael Thomas, he didn't have no fucking 900 yards. No, it was always at least 1,200. Always 1,200 for 4 years straight, and then the injury season comes, and then he only has 438. Then he doesn't play in 2021. What's he gonna do this year? We don't know. I don't know. But I can tell
True.
you one thing. I can tell you one thing. He will play. He will be good, and y'all will start calling him a top 10 receiver again. Top three? No, because the Saints aren't like much other NFL teams where they don't have a number two or a number three. The Saints do have a number two and a number three. The Rams, they have a number two, no number three. The
Van
who would you say
Jefferson.
Van Jefferson's hurt? I think
And then we've got to see if they bring OBJ back, but he wouldn't be back till midseason.
OBJ doesn't want to go back. OBJ wants to fucking play with Baker in fucking Carolina. Who would you say is the second best receiver in the league?
I'd say Devontae Adams is the number one receiver in the league.
Okay, Devontae Adams is number one. They got a number two. Hunter Renfrow, they got a number three. They could have, if he didn't go 156 miles per hour down the road.
No, arguably you could say Darren's their number three, but he's a tight end, I guess.
A
So
tight end don't count. I'm not counting that. And Justin Jefferson, yeah, that's another one. He has a number two, falling off really hard, but still a number two.
are you talking
No
about
number three.
Thielen?
Yeah, Adam Thielen.
Didn't Adam have like 13 touchdowns last year or something? No, I'm not saying that because you said he fell off. I'm just actually curious because he had an ass load of touchdowns last year, but no yards, if I'm not wrong, because he was used as mostly like a red zone guy, I think. Yeah, he had 10 touchdowns last year. It was
10
14.
touchdowns, yeah.
Yeah, it was 14 was the one I was thinking where he had like a ass load of touchdowns. He has had 1,000 yards since 2018.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. He's kind of fell off. Who
He's
else is
kind of
another really good guy?
Cousins kind of became a touchdown machine though in the last 2 years.
He has got height on him. He's
Yeah,
mostly used for the fade routes. Jamar Chase, they don't got a number T Higgins. They don't got a number three.
Tyler Boyd.
Debo Samuel, I really though,
The
really though.
Bengals have the Bengals have the best receiving core in the league.
Bullshit.
Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, and T Higgins. Yeah,
Is Tyler Boyd even that good?
he's had 1,000 yards every year he's been in the league.
Tyler Boyd.
Yeah,
I'm gonna fact check this real quick.
he had in the last 2 years he had 800 yards the past 2 years, but 19 and 18 he had 1,000. My bad.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one. But there's
What
really no
what
fucking
was sucking
guy.
what was sucking for Boyd is when Boyd was the number one receiver, you know they were in the fucking can.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is you definitely can't make the argument that Michael Thomas will be in the top three again because he's just got too many
It's
receivers on his team.
true.
But
Buffalo's got a good core too, by the way.
yeah, Buffalo like Diggs won't be a top three guy anymore because you got Gabriel Davis and fucking who had a really good playoff. I don't know where he came from all of a sudden.
I by the way, I was just curious because I genuinely didn't know who the third receiver in Oakland in Las Vegas was. Do you remember Keelan Cole for the fucking Jags?
Yeah,
He is now the third receiver in Las Vegas.
yeah. So they really don't have a third.
Nah. They got two good
Debo
tight ends
Samuel,
though.
Debo Samuel doesn't even have a second. I'd say Brandon Ayuk's not really that good.
I don't
I like
know.
Brandon Ayuk, but I don't think he's that fucking. I don't think he's that good.
I don't think he's broke out enough yet, but I think Cuz has the ability to be a good guy.
Now he does, but they still don't have no established number two.
No, no.
They
I
definitely
would
don't have a three.
no, definitely not. I would say Brandon's kind of close to being there too. What's their? Let me look at some of their guys. Because some of these guys I just don't know. Like some of these rosters. Their next guy is Juwan Jennings. They have Willie Snead on there. They have Marcus Johnson. He used to play for the Titans. Yeah, they don't really have a number
Yeah,
three.
what I'm saying is it's just kind of weird how people say, "Oh, Michael Thomas is fucking washed." Like slant boy. I don't like the slant boy shit. That kind of pisses me off. I understand some people say it for a troll, but like, you know. And you want to know how it got started?
Because ran slants?
Mm,
I'm joking. I'm
I mean,
joking.
yeah, yeah, I guess. But
Okay, we've talked
do you
about
remember the?
best. Hold up, hold up, hold up. We've talked about best cores in the league. What team has the worst core in the league, in your opinion?
Well, before we get into that, I want to finish this. You want to know the story of why it became a thing?
Why?
Not only does he lead the league in like slants, but you remember the fight in practice with him and Chauncey?
Mm-hmm. What did Chauncey call him, Slant Boy?
Yeah. Or no, it was Malcolm Jenkins. Malcolm Jenkins called him that because it was like a whole fight between everybody. Oh, and another thing. Hold on. Fucking people say, oh, he needs Drew Brees to be successful. Half of the year in 2019 that he did these 1,700 yards was with Teddy Bridgewater.
They have the Miami Dolphins as a top five group B receiving core
Receiving
wise.
group?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have
Worst receiving room, though?
hold up. They have Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, and Cedric Wilson. Phillies at 4. Here, let me see who they ranked at the bottom.
The worst receiving group's probably.
Chicago's ranked up at the least at the bottom.
Yeah, I was gonna say Chicago, Atlanta, or
Houston, Green Bay, and Baltimore are the bottom 4.
yeah, Baltimore for sure. Baltimore's last in my opinion. I mean, besides Rashad Bateman, who's not proven yet, by the way, who hasn't. I don't think he's played a snap in the regular season in his career yet. There's nobody else on the team. Because Rashad Bateman's what, a first round pick last year? And he got hurt and didn't play at all? Or am I thinking differently?
Rashad Bateman. No, Rashad Bateman played. I don't think he had 1,000 yards, but I think he was close. I think he had like 9 something. Let me look up Rashad
There was some fucking receiver that didn't play at all last year.
Hollywood. Hollywood.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they got rid of
Oh,
Hollywood. So,
Rashad had 500 yards and a touchdown. I thought he had
yeah,
way more than
so,
that. He might have been the one that
I mean,
didn't play.
besides Rashad, who else? Like, Devin Duvernay, I mean, really?
No, is that they're gonna hoist a lot on their tight ends, Nick Boyle, um,
Mark Andrews, yeah.
Mark Andrews, and then that Isaiah Likely kid.
If we're counting, if we're counting tight ends toward receiving rooms, then Green Bay's got the worst.
Did they keep Robert Tonyan?
I don't know.
Here, let me look. Green Bay, because
Yeah, they did.
he came on as a guy that I actually liked a lot, and I was hoping when I was looking at the Titans going out and getting a tight end, he was the guy I wanted, him or CJ Uzma. But
But I'd say one of the worst receiving rooms is Houston or Green Bay for sure.
I think New Orleans is top 10. I think you got to put New Orleans at top 10. I think Tennessee would probably be middle of the pack. What do you think?
Yeah, I again like the name value.
The name value is not there.
The name value isn't there. I think that's why they're in the middle. I think it's a lot better than what you give them credit for, though. Than what people give them credit for. The
I'm
Giant. Okay, look, the Giants is low key kind of weak, as well. I understand Kenny Galladay's there, but Kenny Galladay is struggling hard. Kadarius Tony does not want to be there. Wando Robinson, he's doing pretty good. Sterling
um
Shepard,
what's
average.
his name? What is his name? The dude that was from Auburn that plays for the Giants as a receiver. He wants to get traded. What's his name? Fuck.
Darius Slayton.
Yeah, Darius Slayton.
Yeah, like nobody wants to be there. Uh, you know what I mean? Like no one wants to be there. It's it's a mess in New York.
All right, V, we're about an hour deep. You want to go ahead and I think we've talked about a lot of the stuff we were going to talk about.
Yeah, there's not really much more to talk about. So
We've reached our hour mark.
yeah,
We've talked about the
shorter
NFL.
podcast, I guess you could say.
We've talked about the NFL. Well, you got to think we the last two episodes we had to split in half because we did a 3 hour podcast with David. So,
Yeah, shout out to him, bro. That's
by the way, guys,
that's what we probably have to do.
we're gonna do a little subject. We're trying to get more guys to come on. We're talking to some people. I don't want to name any names yet. I'm out talking to some people. We're trying to get
You
some people to
haven't
come.
told me yet.
We're we're trying to get some people to come on. Uh, Nothing's confirmed yet, so I'm not gonna say no names. But I'm gonna work that out. I'm gonna get some guys to come on. Dakota's gonna be on an episode. I promise, because we've said his name in almost every video, and especially in the David video, we told y'all some of Dakota's takes. So, um, yeah. So definitely he's gonna be on. We're gonna get him on soon. Probably within the next couple of episodes, he'll be on one of them. But I hope you guys don't mind of the one episode a week thing. It's much better for both of our schedules, especially mine, being a stressed college kid. But we love you guys. Valente, if you have anything else to say, we'll
That's it, man. You got it.
okay. So we'll end it here, and we'll see you guys next week, which will probably have the Clash at the Castle predictions and some more NFL takes that we just have. We talk NFL all the time, so we'll probably think of something to talk about. Anyway, bye guys.